Here's the next lesson on percentage basics and conversion. So we're onto percentages now. So you can think, what is a percentage? You might have your own way of deciding what a percentage is. A lot of people say a percentage is an amount out of 100. So that's what a lot of people tend to think of it as. Percentages are amounts which are out of 100. There might be other ways of describing percentages, but you can use whichever ones you want. Remember, we use little percent signs, e.g. 30% means 30 out of 100. So that's what percents mean. They mean values which are out of 100. So looking at the diagrams, try to think like how many boxes are going this way. Have a little count. Feel free to pause. That's right, there's 10 boxes this way. And how many boxes this way? That's right, there's 10 boxes this way too. So in total, how many boxes would we have in this shape? That's right, we would have 100. So I've tried to make little shapes that have 100 boxes in them. And we're asked what percentage of the diagram is shaded. Okay, so shaded. So these are out of 100 already, so we just need to work out what percent. So you can think there's how many in each row? That's right, there's 10. And how many rows do we have? We have 4. So how many in these 4 rows? There would be 40, plus the little remainder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what would this be as a percent? That's right, it would be 47%. So feel free to pause and try these ones for yourself now, and then you can just scroll ahead to where I've kind of like written the answers, and then you can kind of check them out. Cool. So in this case, what would it be? Like you could count it up in different kind of ways. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Other ways you could think of it is there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 lots of 3, so 24, plus 2 and 2, so 28. Different ways you can kind of make sense of it. And the next one, so let's see, different ways you can add these ones up. So how many would be in this top row? By mistake, some people might think there's 40, but there's actually not 40. And how can we think of that? So the different ways you can think of it. This top row has how many in it? So the top row has 10. This bottom row has 10. But in this side row, because we've already counted the top box and the bottom box, how many would be in here? There'd be only 8 and 8. So you can think of it as 10 plus 10 plus 8 plus 8. Which what would that be? 10 plus 10 is 20, 8 plus 8 is 16, so 36%. Lots of other different ways you can think of it. Some people think of it as the fact that there's 4 lots of 10, but then each little corner got counted twice. So 40 minus 4, because there's 4 little corners, gives you 36%. Lots of different ways you can do it. Some people might think 10 plus 9 plus 9 plus 8 would also give you the same answer. Same with this one. So we've got 2 rows of 10 and 2 rows of 5. So how many percent would that be? That's right, that would be, what percent would that be? That would be 30%. Scrolling down to the last ones. This one's easy. Yeah, so you could think of like how many rows are shaded. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows shaded. Or you could think of the fact that 2 rows are unshaded. So 20 boxes are unshaded. So the remaining, and if it's out of 100, the remaining must be 80%. Lots of different ways you can work these ones out. You might also think of 8 by 10. Here you can probably look at it and just realize it's 3/4, so automatically it's 75%. Because 3/4 is 75%, a half is 50%, a quarter is 25%. Some people might instead think it's 5 by 5, so it's like 100 minus 25. Or 5 by 5, or some people might think 3 lots of 10 plus 5 lots of 5, which would give you the same answers. Okay, moving right along. The main idea was to just realize percents are out of 100. So for you to visualize it. So converting fractions to percents, that's what we want to know now. So we just multiply the fraction by, because fractions are out of, 100. So multiply the fraction by, I'm having trouble writing this, 100. That's what we want to do. So 3/10, just times it by 100. Oops, sorry, didn't like that being there. So 3/10, show my working out, I'll just write multiplied by 100. Some people like to say multiplied by 100 over 1. Because then you could do it by hand. If you multiply it by 100 over 1, 3 times 100 is 300, 10 times 1 is 10. So I'll do that actually. Undo that. Undo that. So 3 doesn't want to move, having trouble with the pen today. 3 times 100 over 1. Because it's like timesing by 100. 100 over 1 is just like timesing by 100. You could do this with calculator. You could just go 3 over 10 in your calculator using your nice fraction button, like the fraction box over the fraction box. Or you could just, and then times by 100, or you can work it out by hand. 300, 3 times 100 is 300, 10 times 1 is 10. 300 divided by 10, what's that? It's 30. And we're converting it to a percent, so we need a little percent sign. 2 and 2 ninths, you can plug that in the calculator. 2 and 2 ninths, so write a 2 and then next to it plus a fraction over fraction box. Or you can convert it to a mixed number first. Let's practice our mixed numbers. 2 times 9 is 18. 18 plus the remainder of 2 gives us 20 over 9. And we can write 20 over 9 times 100 over 1. You can just throw that into the calculator if you like. If you want to do it without calculator, you do 20 times that, which will give you 2,000 over 9 times 1. And you just have to work out what's 20 divided by 9. So 20 divided by 9, have a think what that could possibly be. In a way, you could also think of like what's 20 divided by 9, and then times that by 100. So 2,000 divided by 9. You might get a kind of recurring number. So you get something like 2, you get a big percentage. So you get 222.2 recurring percent, which is possible. So if something's like 200%, it just means it's double the size of what it was. So it's possible to get percents that are more than 100. It just means something got bigger, as opposed to sort of getting smaller. So 222%, because that makes sense, it's 2 and something, so it's more than 1. Excuse me. Converting percents to fractions. Just write the percent as a fraction over 100. Because percents are like fractions over 100. And simplify the fraction. So for example, convert 45% to a fraction. So first step, write the fraction as 45 over 100. 45% means 45 over 100. Then you simplify. 45 and 100 are both divisible by 5. So you can say divide by, you don't need to show this step if you don't want, it's fine. Divide by 5, divide by 5, 9/20ths. And that does not simplify anymore. So it's done. So now let's convert the following percents to fractions. So 32%, write it as 32 over 100, which is divisible by 2. So divide by 2, you probably get 16 over 50, but can be simplified further. So we can divide by 2 again. So you get 8 over 25. So just double check, can you simplify the fraction further? 8 and 25 doesn't simplify any further. 40% is like 40 over 100. Can divide the top and bottom by 10, that's easy. 4/10. We've got even numbers, so divide the top and bottom by 2, numerator and denominator by 2. We'll get 2/5. Can't be simplified anymore. 33% gives us 33 over 100. Can we simplify this anymore? Let's see, this one's divisible by 11 and 3, but no, this one's not divisible by 11 and 3, so can't simplify it anymore, it's done. 5%, we can go 5 over 100. Make sure to show this first step. 5 and 100 are both divisible by 5. So 5 divided by 1, that's easy. That's 1. 5 divided by 5, sorry, that's 1. 100 divided by 5, what's that? That's right, that's 20. That's simplified. Now 3.5, let's just start by writing 3.5 over 100. But when we write fractions, we're not allowed to have decimals in the numerator or denominator for our final answer. So what can we could times the top and bottom by 10, and that would make it 35 over 100, and then we would simplify it by dividing by 5. That would be fine. We can also times the top and bottom by 2. And I'm just showing you that this is a little bit easier, which would give us 3.5 times 2 is 7 over 200. And see, we don't have to simplify that anymore. If you times the top and bottom by 10, you would get 35 over 1,000, and then you'd have to divide by 5, which would top and bottom, which would give you 7 over 200 anyway. So I just times the numerator and denominator by the smallest number I could, because timesing a 0.5 by 2 just makes it a whole number instead. If it was 3.25, I would multiply by 4 over 4, because 0.25 by 4 just becomes 1, and so on. But if you're stuck, just times by 10, and then top and bottom by 10, and then simplify. And see, now it's a nice fraction. Simplified, no decimals in the numerator or denominator. Converting decimals to percentages, even easier. Just multiply the decimal by 100. So easy. So 0.45 times 100. So in that case, we'll end up with a decimal at 45 instead, 45.0. Or we can, and don't forget to write your percent sign. 1.34 times 100. We end up with 134%. 0.06 times 100 is at 60%. No, it's not. It's 6%. So that's the easiest one you can possibly get. Now a bit more problem-solving one. Arrange the following in descending order. So descending, would you agree, means from biggest to smallest, meaning going down. The opposite would be ascending order, from smallest to biggest. Ascend means to go up, descend means to go down. So I've got a hint for you. Convert them all to percentages so you can compare them. So 33%, that's already a percentage. That's great. 3/10, what's that as a percentage? So if you're not sure, just take your 3/10 and times by 100 over 1. 3 times 100 is 300. 10 times 1 is 10. And divide top and bottom by 10, you get 30%. So you might just realize already 3/10 is 30%, because 1/10 is 10%, 2/10 is 20%. But if you don't realize that, this is what you can do. Decimals, what do? You times them by 100 to convert them to percents. Times by 100, you get 32%. And the first one was already a percent, so let's just write it next to it so we don't forget about it. So we've got our line of percents. Fractions, times by 100, or 100 over 1, if you want to do it by hand. 1 times 100 is 100. 3 times 1 is 3. 100 divided by 3, you can do it with calculator if you want, I guess. 33.3 recurring percent. It's a 33.3 recurring percent. And 34% is already a percent. So now once you've got them in all the same form, it's easy to compare them. So descending means from biggest to smallest. So which one of these is the biggest? That's right, it's 34%. So when you write your first answer, make sure you write them in their original form. So 34% was already a percent, so let's write 34%. So the next one will be, from here, it's not 33%, 33.3 recurring percent, which in its original form was 1/3. So let's write that as 1/3. Next one down will be 33%, which was already written as 33%, so great, let's just rewrite that. The next one down is 32%, which in its original form was 0.32. So please write it in its original form. And next last one, 30%, which is 3/10. in its original form. So that was in descending order. Double check that I put it in the right order. Yes, I made it from biggest to smallest, descending, going down. If it said ascending, I should do it the other way around. It's very common for people to get this a bit muddled. Okay, so thanks very much, and that's the end of the lesson.